Today I'm going to be making some beef and mashed potatoes. The main ingredients are a 1.25 pound beef tri-tip roast, and mine looks like this. Nice piece of meat. I'm going to cut off most of the fat, and you need a 1.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes and some cabbage that's called Savoy cabbage. It's a little different than green cabbage, and if you can't find it, it's a little curlier leaf. It's not as tough as regular cabbage. It's just thinner leaves, but tastes good. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is cut the fat off of the meat, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer for about half an hour so that I can cut through it and make these medallions, they're called, just little size pieces of meat, and it'll be easier to cut through evenly if it's a little bit frozen. So I'm going to just cut off the fat. I know it gives it fat always gives good flavor to the meat, but I don't like to eat a lot of fat, so cut it off. I'll be cooking it in a little bit of olive oil. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit on there. Just cut a little here. Okay, so now I'm going to I'm just going to wrap it a little, stick it in the freezer for about half an hour. And while it's in the freezer, I'm going to be preparing the potatoes. So it's 1.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, and if you can't find Yukon Gold potatoes, then I think any kind of potato would be good for this. Just mashed potatoes with cabbage. So, but I think any a closely comparable tomato would probably be the red-skinned potato. Okay, so I'm putting this in the freezer. Okay, it's in the freezer for about 30 minutes. And next we'll get started on the potatoes. So you want 1.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, and I've already peeled mine. Mine were little. You could probably find them larger than this, and they're much easier to peel if they're larger. So I just destroyed some of my fingernails, but okay, so the first thing we want to do is, since these are so small, I'm just going to cut them in quarters, one way and then the other. Throw them in a pot. And then I'm going to just boil them. And these won't take long. Yukon Gold has just a different flavor. I don't use them that much. They're part of the recipe, so I figured I'd use them instead of another time. But I think Yukon Gold is like a creamier. There's a creamier potato, but I think that's what other people on TV have said. Yukon Gold is creamier, but I think it just depends on what you add to the mashed potatoes that make it nice and creamy. But I think the flavor is just a little bit different than than other potatoes. Okay, so I'm just going to fill this with some water. Cover it about 2 inches over the potatoes so they have plenty of water to boil in. Okay, you want to put a little salt in that too. Okay. So now we're going to work on the cabbage. Okay, while that is coming to a boil. So once the potatoes come to a boil, it'll take maybe, since they're small pieces, maybe about 10 minutes. And you want to test for doneness with a fork or a sharp knife. You know, nice little sharp knife, so have that handy. Okay, so, and by the way, the recipe is from Williams Sonoma and their blog called The Taste. And if you want to print it out, you'd go to blog.williams-sonoma.com, and you could, in their search field, you can search beef medallions with spring mashed potatoes. So that's the name of it. Oops, there. And that's the website. And that's what it's supposed to look like when I'm done. Okay, so the next thing, in a large non-stick pan, so I have my non-stick and I have my stainless steel pan ready. So for the cabbage, it says to use a half of a head of cabbage. So I'm just going to take this one piece off. So this was the smallest one, so I'm assuming it's a small head. And then, excuse me, cut out the core. Cut out the core. And then I'm going to just slice it thinly. So this says thinly sliced crosswise. So crosswise, I guess this is crosswise, whatever. So about, I would say about a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, that's 1/4 inch is good. So just cut it crosswise. Okay, so just a little bit of olive oil in your pan, about a tablespoon. Or a little more. And I like to include a little coconut oil too. Gives it a really nice flavor. going to take a little bit of, maybe a teaspoon of coconut oil. So if you've never used coconut oil, when you buy it, it's in a jar in a solid form. And it's been really hot here in San Diego. And I'm going to leave this out for the beef. And if it goes over a certain temperature, I think maybe 70 degrees, it melts. But so all I did was put it into the refrigerator and it solidified again. And then when you let it sit out, it starts to melt again. So it's going to be hot in San Diego again soon. So I guess I'll have it. It liquefies, but it's still okay. Okay, so once this is heated up, I'm just going to put the cabbage into the pan, season it with a little salt and pepper, and just let it saute for about 8 minutes, and then we'll just let that rest on the side. And then after that, once the half an hour, so I put that in about 5 minutes ago, so once the half an hour has gone by and my beef is a little bit frozen, then we'll start on that. But for now, we're going to be doing this. When you cook with coconut oil, you can cook at a higher temperature too. You just have to be careful that it doesn't start to smoke. You don't want to burn. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the heat should be around medium-high. I'm taking some of these pieces out. And I've seen the pictures of this Savoy cabbage, and it's sometimes if you can get one that has more green leaves on it than this one did, I wish I could have found one, but I couldn't find one with a lot more green leaves on it. But if you can, I would personally, for me, I would use that one. Okay, so just be careful and continue to turn it in the pan. So it's starting to brown a little bit. It's going to add some pretty good flavor. Okay, so a little salt. And a little pepper, however much you like. So just going to turn that down just a little. And just let it cook. It'll get soft and tender. These are almost boiling. Okay, so once the cabbage is tender, you just want to put it in a bowl and let it rest, and we'll use it later for when the potatoes are done. And we'll finish up with the meat. And so I'll be back when I'm ready to do the next step, okay?